Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Hayya ala salat. Hayya ala salat. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Friday broadcast by the Lahore Ahmadiyya community. Today I'm going to first recite chapter 7 verse 44 and then chapter 18 verse 59. The title that I have given to today's sermon is Iqbal Masih. And the first verse that I want to recite says, وَنَادَى أَصْحَابُ الْجَنَّةِ أَصْحَابَ النَّارِ أَنْ قَدْ وَجَدْنَا مَا وَعَدَنَا رَبُّنَا حَقًّا فَهَلْ وَجَدْتُمْ مَا وَعَدَ رَبُّكُمْ حَقًّا قَالُوا نَعَمْ فَأَذَّنَ مُؤَذِّنٌ بَيْنَهُمْ اللعنة الله على الظالمين. And its English translation is, and the owners of the garden call out to the companions of the fire, we have found that which our Lord promised us to be true. Have you too found that which your Lord promised you to be true? And they will say, yes. Then a crier will call out among them, the curse of Allah is on the unjust, on the exploiters. The other verse that I want to recite is from chapter 18, verse 59. وَتِلْكَ الْقُرَىٰ أَهْلَكْنَاهُمْ لَمَّا ظَلَمُوا وَجَعَلْنَا لِمَهْلِكِهِمْ مَوْعِدًا. And these towns, we destroyed them when there was injustice. And we have appointed a time for this destruction. Sadaqallahul Aliyyul Azim. And I want to recite some sayings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. Abu Sa'd al-Khudri said, I heard the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, whosoever of you sees an evil, let him change it with his hand. And if he is not able to do so, then let him change it with his tongue. And if he is not able to do so, then with his heart. But the person who does that, is the one weakest in his faith. A gentleman, a Wahhabi, a great scholar, he said, injustice is a major sin, and that doing injustice to others may take the form of trespassing on their property, abusing them physically or verbally, and attacking the weak. Do not wrong the weak so as not to be one of the evil strong ones. In addition to this, the 6 major sins in Islam are devouring the property of the orphans, procrastination in repaying debts despite the ability to repay them on time, denying a wife her rights. These are major sins in Islam. Denying a wife her rights, such as dowry, clothing, and provision. Denying a laborer his due. Inaccurate divisions and valuation that people do to earn a little extra profit. Now, these are such fine words, and these were spoken 1500 years ago. They are in the Holy Quran. There is a saying of the Holy Prophet Muhammad there are many sayings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but here I read out only one, the one that makes it a duty of every single Muslim to fight injustice. And then you would think that with all these instructions from the Prophet of Allah, from Allah himself, then the Prophet of Allah, then other scholars of Islam, surely there should be no injustice in those countries where Muslims are in a majority. And that brings us to the story of Iqbal Masih, a Christian boy. He was awarded the World's Children's Honorary Award for 2000 for the work that he did. Perhaps I should have kept his age to myself until the end of the khutbah. But he was awarded this posthumously. He had died. So how old was he? Any guesses? 80? No? 70? 60?
90.
12.
12.
He was 12 years old when he was murdered. And why was he murdered? Because he was struggling to free the slave children of Pakistan. His father had left the family. His mother was trying to bring the kids up on her own. They're Christians. And his elder brother was going to be married. There are two stories. One says that his mother did an operation, and the other one says that his elder brother was to be married. And the father came home. And in Pakistan, when there's a wedding, it doesn't matter what religion you belong to, what do you have? You have a big feast. And you invite everyone. And why do they do that? Izzat ka sawal. Family's honor is at stake. So we must give, whether we have money or not, we must give a splendid meal to which we invite all and sundry. From President Trump down to the lady who comes and does maybe not the lady who comes and does the washing up and so on, but as many people as you can. His mother was barely able to bring up the children. So the father, who suddenly appeared, and he wanted to exercise his parental rights, what did he do? He sold Iqbal Masih. And for how much? 600 rupees. How did he sell it? What he did was, he went to a local factory owner and he said, I want an advance, peshki. And the guy said, well, what security do you have? No, very different from what happens in the UK. You go and you want to take a loan, and if you want a low rate of interest, then you have to put up security. What security did his father put up? His son, yes, got it in one. He sold his 6-year-old son into bondage labor. And of course, that debt accrued interest as well. It wasn't interest free. So, those of you who we have to drag out of beds at 1 o'clock with difficulty because it's Jummah time, will be shocked to learn that a bus used to turn up at his house. What time? 10 o'clock? 4 a.m. And what time did this bus drop him back at his house?
Probably midnight.
Sorry?
Midnight or
7 p.m. And how many breaks did he have during that time? 1 half-hour break, when he got some boiled rice and lentils. This bus would take him to an airless room where there were 20 looms. All the windows would be shut. We had one of you complaining about how hot it is here and all the windows should be open. All the windows were closed, they were actually sealed. Why were they sealed closed? Because there was wool and they didn't want insects and flies and things coming in and contaminating that wool. There was one single bulb. As he tried to weave a carpet, this 4-year-old boy, from 4:30 in the morning until 7 p.m. was weaving carpets, some of which are sold in expensive shops in the UK and Germany and United States and everywhere else. I forgot to ask you, here's another question for you. He worked from 4 in the morning, or he left home at 4 in the morning and he came back at 7 p.m. Yep. And he had half an hour's break. How much do you think he was earning daily? 100 rupees? 1,000 rupees? Yes?
5 rupees?
Not even 5 rupees. 1 rupee, which is like 5p. And those of you who are too proud to get jobs because they involve cleaning and so on should perhaps be sent back to Pakistan to spend some time with Iqbal Masih's parents or other kids like him. Now, the sad thing was that, of course, he earned 1 rupee, but the interest on the 600 rupee, the daily interest on the 600 rupees that his father had borrowed was 50 rupees. So what was happening to the debt?
Getting bigger.
Yes, it's increasing. Because on day 1, you had 600, next day you had 650. Your loan now is 650 rupees. And you say, no, it's 649. No, it's 650. Why? That 1 rupee that he earned was taken away. Why? Because he got boiled rice and lentils. That wasn't free. He had to pay for his meals. When you go to McDonald's, don't you have to pay? Even if you work there, you have to pay. So that, and the other interesting thing was this, that lint and fluff floated in the air that he breathed in, clogging his lungs, giving him asthma and other diseases. Sweat poured down his face as he leaned close to the loom because the light was so faded he could not see it. And if he got close to the loom and sweat dropped on the wool, on the carpet, what happened to him?
He got beat.
He got beaten. This is the reality of life. For those of you who say, oh, my friend's got the latest Nintendo and it's so embarrassing, I haven't got it. Or the mobile phone or whatever else there is. I'm of the firm opinion that from the age of 5 to 14, all children in UK should be shipped off to Ethiopia and made to live there and earn a living and then brought back at the age of 15 or 16 so that they realize what real life is like. If you made a mistake, you would be hit. They had a big stick. One guy made a mistake and his punishment was The supervisor took his hand, took a knife and cut his hand from there to there. And then to stop the blood from falling on precious wool, what did he do? He took boiling oil and he poured it on that wound. This is the reality of life for tens of millions of children living in Muslim majority countries. And then what do we Muslims do? We make an innocent face and we say, but why is all this propaganda against Islam? Someone said to me, why are they spreading all these lies against Islam? To which I responded, you give them so much truth to denigrate you, they don't need to make up any lies. He did this from the age of 4, when in the UK kids would be going where? Play school, nursery, and playing with toys. Up until the age of 10. And he got beaten more than others. Why? Because he would answer back. And every time he answered back, they increased the debt that he owed, because the father had taken the debt in his name. At the age of 10, he ran away. Great boy, ran away at the age of 10. Yeah, I forget the name of the little town where he lived, but he ran away. And then this was reported to the police, and the police found him. And what did they do? Where did they take him? To a children's home? To Lahore Social Services?
Back to the factory.
Back to the factory, yes. Got it in one. And what happened at the factory? The first thing that happened at the factory was that he was beaten up by the owner of the factory. Why was he beaten up? Because the owner of the factory had a target to meet. And his running away meant that he couldn't meet that target. There was one less worker. When you tried to escape, he said in an interview, we were threatened with being thrown in boiling oil. If we were too slow, we often got lashed with a whip on our backs and on our heads. Shortly after that, he came across an organization called Bonded Labor Liberation Front, which is a Pakistani-based organization that tries to trace such kids and help them and free them. He somehow got a copy of their Charter of Freedom, a pamphlet that they had produced about the rights of kids and so on. And it's amazing, isn't it? He never went to school, he never learned to read or write, but he fought his own case and he used this Charter of Rights for the Children to earn his freedom. At the age of 11, without any education. And then what did he do? He started going around all the factories and in small towns and telling children, you don't have to put up with this. You have rights. Fight for those rights. They can't keep you here. These contracts are illegal. If you don't fight, You will be working in these factories until you die, and your life is not going to be very long. He freed 3,000 children in 1 year. On 16th of April 1995, when he was 12, was he awarded the Peace Prize, Nobel Peace Prize? Did the American government invite him to shake hands with the president? The factory owners who were losing kids hired a gunman, and he was shot dead. Oh, what a life. In those 12 short years, certainly the last year, he freed 3,000 children from the torture and tyranny of slave labor. But this is a mystery, you see, because the verses of the Holy Quran that I read out for you. And the owners of the garden will call out to the companions of the fire, we have found that which our Lord promised to us to be true. Have you too found that which your Lord promised to be true? And they will say, yes. And then a crier will call out, the curse of Allah is on the unjust. These verses are recited in prayer. But what is the point of reciting these verses if they don't have any impact? The Holy Prophet said, if you see injustice, try and stop it with your hand. Try and stop it with your tongue. That's not possible. Do something else to try and stop. Scholars down the centuries have said it's a major sin. Injustice is a major sin. But what's the point of writing these nice things in books and not acting upon them? I came across Iqbal Masih's story. He was eventually given a prize by the World's Children's Honorary Award 2000, many years after his death. The American government also has some kind of an award which has his name. But it shows two things. Muslims need to rise up and fight injustice in their own countries and in their own communities first. We need to be models that others follow. And the other thing is, if you have courage and faith, could anyone be less helpless than Iqbal Masih? A Christian, a child, a bonded laborer, even his own family sold him out. Could there be anyone who was more helpless? And yet, he did not throw in the towel. He struggled. Illiterate, he found this leaflet and no one would help him, well, apart from this association, and he got his freedom. And in his short duration, 1 year, he managed to free 3,000 other kids who would all be praying for him day and night. And I end with this question. What do you think happened to the murderer?
Nothing.
Yeah, how did you know that? Nothing. He got away with it. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Qur'anil azim wa nafa'ana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim innahu ta'ala jawadun kareemun malikun barrun rahim. Most of you are looking quite depressed. The purpose of that story was to inspire you that if a 12-year-old boy, without any support from anyone, including his family, can do this, then if you have the spirit to fight for your rights, you can achieve anything. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma ansur man nasara dina Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa jalna minhum wa akhzul man khadala dina Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. ولا تجعلنا منكم عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah, qad qamatis salah, qad qamatis salah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in Ihdinas siratal mustaqim Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أستغفر الله أستغفر الله. اللهم أنت تبارك. Thank you for joining us for our Friday service. Our next broadcast is going to be tomorrow morning, Lessons in Islam, which is in English only. And then on Sunday, we'll have the Call of the Messiah, which is both in first in Urdu and then in English. And after that, from Monday to Thursday at 7 p.m., we'll have reflections on the Holy Quran. Half an hour in Urdu, then half an hour in English. With a prayer that whoever you are, wherever you are, may Allah keeps you safe and sound and free from harm. I take my leave of you. Assalamu alaikum, Khuda Hafiz, and goodbye.